of machinery filled Star Labs as Barry Allen stood in the middle of a sleek testing chamber. Around him, glowing blue conduits pulsed with the energy of the Speed Force. Cisco Ramon was at the console, adjusting controls, while Caitlin Snow monitored Barry's vitals. "All systems are go," Cisco said, leaning into his microphone. "Barry, are you ready to push the Speed Force to the limit?" Barry smirked under his cowl. "You know me, Cisco, always ready." The experiment was designed to fine-tune Barry's connection to the Speed Force, allowing him to explore the mysterious dimension more effectively. The idea seemed straightforward, but as the power ramped up, the room trembled slightly, the conduits glowing brighter than intended. We've got some instability," Caitlin said, her voice rising with concern. "Barry, maybe dial it back a little." Before Barry could react, the energy surged, and a swirling portal materialized in the center of the chamber. The portal's vortex spun violently, its edges crackling with lightning. Barry turned towards Cisco, panic in his voice. "Cisco, shut it down!" "I'm trying," Cisco yelled, furiously typing on the keyboard. But the portal expanded, its pull growing stronger. Barry felt himself being dragged toward it, his feet skidding across the floor. "Barry!" Caitlin screamed as the portal's force overcame him. In a flash of light, Barry was gone. Barry landed with a thud on a patch of soft grass. The world around him was a vibrant, surreal landscape of rolling green hills, looped cliffs, and a cobalt blue sky. Giant sunflowers swayed gently in the breeze, and rings floated impossibly in the air, shimmering with golden light. "What the?" Barry muttered, standing and dusting himself off. He took a cautious step forward, activating his suit's scanner to analyze his surroundings. "This isn't Central City. Where am I?" A sudden gust of wind whipped past him, accompanied by a blur of blue. Barry spun around, his speedster instincts kicking in. What was that? Before he could react, the blue blur returned, stopping a few feet away. Standing there was a hedgehog, albeit an oversized anthropomorphic one, with cobalt fur, red sneakers, and an unmistakable smirk. "Who are you supposed to be?" the hedgehog asked, crossing his arms. "Another one of Robotnik's tin cans?" Barry blinked, momentarily stunned. "Wait, you can talk." "Of course I can talk," the hedgehog replied. "And run, pretty fast too. Name's Sonic, Sonic the Hedgehog. And you are?" "I'm Barry. Barry Allen." He hesitated before adding, "The Flash." Sonic raised an eyebrow. "Flash, huh? Nice nickname." "You're pretty fast, I'll give you that, but I've got you beat." Barry frowned, narrowing his eyes. "You think so? Let's find out." With a confident grin, Sonic dashed away, his speed creating a shockwave that rippled through the grass. Barry hesitated for only a moment before chasing after him. The two speedsters tore through the landscape, darting between looped paths and corkscrew cliffs. Sonic's movements were playful and chaotic, while Barry relied on precision and calculation to keep up. "Is this a race, or are you just showing off?" Barry shouted over the wind. "Why not both?" Sonic called back, laughing. The chase came to an abrupt halt as they reached a clearing in the forest. Sonic skidded to a stop, spinning to face Barry. "Okay, you're fast, I'll give you that, but you're definitely not from around here. What's your deal?" Barry caught his breath, lowering his cowl. "It's a long story. I was testing some tech back home and I got pulled into a portal. Next thing I know, I'm here." Sonic tilted his head. "Portal. Sounds like Robotnik's handiwork." "Robotnik?" Barry asked. "Big mustache loves robots, not a fan of freedom," Sonic explained. "He's been causing trouble around here for ages." Before Barry could respond, A series of metallic clanks echoed through the forest. Sonic's ears twitched and he spun around. Speaking of trouble, from the shadows emerged a squad of egg pawns, humanoid robots with bulky designs and glowing red eyes. They advanced on the two speedsters, their mechanical limbs whirring as they prepared to attack. "Friends of yours?" Barry quipped. "Hardly," Sonic replied. "Ready to show me what you can do, Flash?" Barry nodded, his serious demeanor returning. "Let's take them down." The battle was a blur of movement. Sonic darted between the robots, spinning into a ball and smashing them apart with ease. Barry followed suit, using his lightning-charged punches to disable the machines. The two speedsters quickly found a rhythm, their combined efforts turning the mechanical threat into scrap metal. As the last robot fell, Sonic dusted off his gloves. "Not bad, Flash. You've got moves." Barry wasn't smiling. "If these robots are connected to this Robotnik guy, we need to find him. He might have answers about the portal and how I can get back home." Sonic nodded, his playful smirk fading slightly. "If Robotnik's involved, he's probably up to something big. Let's head to my hideout. We'll figure out our next move there." Barry hesitated, but he knew he didn't have a choice. "Lead the way." As they sped off into the distance, neither of them noticed a sleek drone hovering high above, its camera lens trained on them. Back in his hidden lair, Dr. Robotnik watched the footage with a gleeful grin. "Well, well," Robotnik mused, stroking his mustache. "It seems the little blue nuisance has made a new friend, and he's fast too. This could be interesting." The screen behind him lit up with schematics of the Chaos Emeralds and a new device labeled Speed Force Extractor. Robotnik's laugh echoed through the lab as he began to plot his next move. Barry and Sonic sped through the lush greenery of Green Hill Zone, their surroundings a blur as they moved. Sonic led the way, weaving effortlessly through loops and cliffs, while Barry followed close behind, still marveling at the surreal environment. "Nice place you've got here," Barry said as they stopped near a small clearing. A hidden cave entrance lay ahead, tucked beneath a waterfall. Sonic gestured toward it, a smug grin on his face. "Welcome to my humble abode," Sonic said. "Don't mind the mess. Eggman's robots don't give me much downtime to clean." Barry raised an eyebrow, but followed Sonic inside. The cave opened into a surprisingly well-equipped hideout. Makeshift monitors and gadgets lined the walls, powered by what appeared to be scavenged parts of Robotnik's robots. A map of the surrounding zones was spread across a table, with markers indicating Robotnik's movements. "You built all this?" Barry asked, impressed. "Mostly. Tails helped with the tricky stuff," Sonic said, rummaging through a pile of parts. "Now about your little portal problem. Robotnik's been messing with some pretty wild tech lately. Chaos Emeralds, dimensional energy, you name it. Wouldn't surprise me if your Speed Force powers caught his attention." Barry frowned. Chaos Emeralds. Sonic pulled out a glowing green gem from a hidden compartment. "These bad boys, 7 in total. Robotnik's been after them for years. They've got insane amounts of energy. If he's figured out how to tap into the Speed Force with one of these..." Sonic trailed off, tossing the emerald to Barry. Barry examined it closely, feeling the energy radiating from it. "This thing is incredible. If Robotnik's using these emeralds, they could be the key to getting me back home. Where are the others?" "That's the problem," Sonic said, crossing his arms. "He's already got most of them. This is the only one I've managed to keep away from him." Barry set the emerald down, his mind racing. "Then we need to get the others before he does." Sonic smirked. "That's the plan. But don't think it'll be easy. Eggman's got a knack for throwing giant robots at me. Meanwhile, deep in Robotnik's lair, the mad scientist stood before his latest invention, the Speed Force Extractor. The massive machine, adorned with glowing conduits and spinning gears, hummed ominously. A series of Chaos Emeralds were slotted into the device, their power fueling its operation. Robotnik turned to his robotic assistant, Orbot. With this device, I'll not only control the Chaos Emeralds, but I'll harness the Speed Force itself. Imagine the possibilities, an army of unstoppable speed-enhanced machines. Orbot hesitated. And, what about Sonic? Robotnik's grin widened. Sonic won't be a problem. And as for his new friend, he gestured to a monitor displaying footage of Barry. I'll make him part of my machine. Their speed will fuel my empire. He pressed a button on his console, activating a massive robotic Centurion. Deploy the Guardian and secure the Emerald in Green Hill Zone. I want no loose ends. Back at Sonic's hideout, alarms blared as the Guardian arrived in Green Hill Zone. The towering mech, adorned with spinning saw blades and missile launchers, stomped through the landscape, leaving destruction in its wake. Sonic and Barry rushed outside, their eyes widening at the sight. Well, that's new, Sonic muttered. Barry's voice was calm but firm. We need to stop it before it gets to the Emerald. Way ahead of you, Sonic said, dashing toward the machine. The battle was chaotic and fast-paced. Sonic distracted the Guardian by zipping around it, while Barry analyzed its movements, looking for weaknesses. The mech unleashed a barrage of missiles, forcing the two speedsters to split up. Sonic, keep it busy, Barry shouted. I'll take out its legs. Sonic smirked. You got it, Flash. Barry used his speed to disorient the mech, vibrating his hands to create a shockwave that destabilized its right leg. Sonic followed up with a spin dash, shattering the damaged limb and sending the Guardian crashing to the ground. The mech wasn't done yet. It activated a self-repair function, its damaged parts regenerating rapidly. Barry noticed a glowing core in its chest, likely powered by a Chaos Emerald. Sonic, the core! That's where it's drawing its power, Barry yelled. Say no more, Sonic replied. Charging toward the mech, he leapt into the air, spinning into a ball, and struck the core with precision. The emerald dislodged and the mech collapsed, its power drained. Barry grabbed the emerald as it fell, its energy pulsating in his hands. That makes two. Sonic landed beside him, brushing off dust. Not bad, Flash. You're not too shabby in a fight. Barry smiled faintly. Thanks. But Robotnik won't stop here. If he's using the Chaos Emeralds to tap into the Speed Force, we need to stop him before he builds something worse. Sonic's grin faded. You're right. We'll head to his main base in the Scrap Brain Zone. That's where he's likely hoarding the rest of the emeralds. As the two speedsters prepared for the next leg of their journey, Robotnik watched them through his monitors, his expression darkening. Let them come, he muttered. They'll find that I'm always one step ahead. The screen flickered, displaying a massive battleship equipped with the Speed Force Extractor. Soon, the Speed Force will be mine. The Scrap Brain Zone was a sprawling industrial wasteland, filled with smoke-belching chimneys, electrified floors, and perilous machinery. The air was thick with the acrid stench of oil and metal. Sonic and Barry stood at the edge of the zone, surveying the labyrinthine expanse ahead of them. So, this is Robotnik's idea of a home, Barry said, wrinkling his nose. Charming. Yeah, Eggman's got a real eye for decor, Sonic replied with a smirk. But this is where the action is. He'll have the rest of the Chaos Emeralds locked up somewhere in there. Barry's cowl lenses glowed as he scanned the area. It's heavily fortified. Robotnik knows we're coming. Let him, Sonic said, cracking his knuckles. The guy loves to overcompensate, but he's not unbeatable. Barry's gaze lingered on the massive battleship looming in the distance, tethered to the zone by thick cables. That must be where he's keeping the emeralds. We take out the battleship, we stop Robotnik. And save your speed force, Sonic added. Let's do this. Navigating the scrap brain zone was no small feat. The area was a deadly maze of conveyor belts, crushing pistons, and electrified platforms. Sonic's agility and speed allowed him to maneuver through the hazards with ease, while Barry used his speed to phase through walls and disarm traps. At one point, they encountered a squadron of egg pawns armed with energy blasters. Sonic darted between the robots, dismantling them with spin dashes, while Barry used lightning-charged punches to disable their circuits. The duo's teamwork was seamless, their banter light but focused. You know, Sonic said, dodging a blast, we make a pretty good team. Maybe after this we can start a speedster club. Let's focus on surviving first, Barry replied, throwing a Batarang-like device that short-circuited a cluster of robots. Then we can talk about clubs. As they progressed, they reached a massive control room filled with glowing monitors and intricate machinery. Barry's eyes narrowed as he examined the room. This is it, the core of the zone. Sonic pointed to a pedestal in the center of the room. 3 Chaos Emeralds floated above it, their energy pulsating in rhythmic waves. Bingo, those are what we came for. Before they could reach the pedestal, the room trembled as a towering mech descended from the ceiling. It was shaped like a spider with razor-sharp legs and cannons mounted on its sides. At the helm was Dr. Robotnik, grinning maniacally. "Ah, my favorite pests," Robotnik said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You've been a thorn in my side for far too long, Sonic, and you," he pointed at Barry, "your speed force will make a fine addition to my empire." "You talk too much," Sonic quipped, charging at the mech. Robotnik unleashed a barrage of missiles, forcing Sonic and Barry to dodge in opposite directions. The mech's legs slammed into the ground, creating shockwaves that rattled the room. Barry used his speed to draw Robotnik's attention, while Sonic targeted the mech's joints. "Barry," Sonic shouted, "we've got to get those emeralds!" "I'm working on it," Barry replied, narrowly avoiding a laser blast. He raced toward the pedestal, but the mech's cannons swiveled, cutting off his path. Sonic leapt onto the mech, spinning into a ball to damage its plating. "Hey, Eggman, over here," he shouted, taunting Robotnik. Robotnik growled, focusing his fire on Sonic. Barry seized the opportunity to phase through the cannons, reaching the pedestal. As he grabbed the emeralds, their energy surged through him, amplifying his connection to the Speed Force. "Got them," Barry yelled, his body glowing with golden energy. Sonic jumped down, landing beside him. "Great. Now let's take this guy down." With the power of the Chaos Emeralds, Barry and Sonic combined their abilities, overwhelming Robotnik's mech with devastating speed attacks. Barry vibrated through the mech's legs, destabilizing its structure, while Sonic unleashed a flurry of spin dashes on its exposed core. Robotnik's mech began to collapse, sparks flying and alarms blaring. "You think you've won?" he shouted, his voice panicked. "You're too late. My battleship is already operational." The mech exploded, forcing Sonic and Barry to dive for cover. As the smoke cleared, Robotnik's voice echoed through the control room. "Enjoy your victory while it lasts, rodents. The Speed Force extractor is ready to launch." Barry and Sonic looked out the window as the battleship's engines roared to life. The massive vessel detached from the zone, ascending into the sky. Its hull gleamed with the power of the remaining Chaos Emeralds. Barry's jaw tightened. He's heading for space, If that extractor activates, it could tear the Speed Force apart. Then we've got to stop him, Sonic said, determination in his eyes. No way I'm letting Eggman win. The two speedsters raced toward the zone's launch pad, where a shuttle was prepped and waiting. As they boarded, Barry glanced at Sonic. You've done this kind of thing before. Sonic grinned. Space missions, giant robots, saving the world, just another Tuesday. Barry couldn't help but smile. Then let's finish this. The shuttle's engines ignited, propelling them toward the battleship. Above them, the stars shimmered, and the looming shadow of Robotnik's ultimate weapon awaited. The stars stretched endlessly around them as the shuttle approached Robotnik's battleship. The vessel was a behemoth of gleaming steel and intricate machinery, its engines pulsating with the power of the Chaos Emeralds. A faint, ominous hum radiated from its core, signaling the activation of the Speed Force extractor. Inside the shuttle, Sonic paced impatiently, while Barry prepared for the final assault. The tension between them had vanished, replaced by an unspoken understanding of the stakes. "All right, Flash," Sonic said, cracking his knuckles. "We get in, smash Eggman's toys, grab the emeralds, and save your Speed Force. Easy." Barry gave him a wry smile. "You make it sound simple, but Robotnik will be ready for us." Sonic leaned casually against the shuttle wall. "Let him be ready. I like a challenge." The shuttle docked with the battleship, its landing bay illuminated by cold, sterile light. As the doors opened, they were immediately greeted by waves of egg pawns, armed with plasma rifles and energy shields. "Time to go to work," Barry said, his tone sharp. "You read my mind," Sonic replied, dashing ahead. The duo blitzed through the first wave of defenses with ease. Sonic ricocheted off walls, dismantling robots with spin dashes, while Barry used his speed to disarm and disable enemies. In a blur of lightning-charged strikes, the two moved like a well-oiled machine, their synergy honed by the battles they'd fought together. As they advanced deeper into the battleship, the corridors grew narrower and more hazardous. Automated turrets emerged from the walls, firing energy blasts that forced them to zigzag and dodge. Barry used his enhanced reflexes to calculate the turrets' trajectories, while Sonic's agility allowed him to disarm them with precision. "Not bad, Flash," Sonic said as they reached the core chamber's entrance. "You might even be faster than me." Barry smirked. "Let's focus on stopping Robotnik before we settle that." Inside the core chamber, Robotnik stood at the center of a massive platform, surrounded by machinery that thrummed with the power of the Chaos Emeralds. The emeralds floated in an energy field, their light casting eerie shadows across the room. Above them, the Speed Force extractor's massive array of conduits and generators glowed ominously. Robotnik turned to greet them, his grin wide and smug. "Ah, my favorite speedsters. Welcome to the end of your little crusade." "Nice ship," Sonic said, stepping forward. "Mind if we wreck it?" Robotnik's grin faded, replaced by a scowl. "You're too late. With the Speed Force and Chaos Emeralds under my control, I will reshape this universe and every other one to my will." Barry's voice was calm but firm. "You'll destroy everything. You don't understand the power you're dealing with." "Oh, I understand it perfectly," Robotnik sneered, pressing a button on his control panel. The floor beneath him shifted, and a massive mech rose from the platform, adorned with emerald-powered cannons and electrified claws. The mech's central core pulsed with the combined energy of the Speed Force and Chaos Emeralds. "Let's see if your speed can match my genius," Robotnik roared as the mech activated. The battle was chaotic and intense. Robotnik unleashed waves of energy blasts and shockwaves, forcing Barry and Sonic to constantly stay in motion. Barry used his lightning to disrupt the mech's systems, while Sonic targeted its joints with high-speed spin dashes. The mech retaliated, firing emerald-infused beams that narrowly missed their marks. One blast struck the ground near Barry, sending him tumbling. Sonic raced to his side, pulling him up. "You okay, Flash?" Barry nodded, shaking off the impact. "We need to take out those emeralds. They're fueling the whole thing." "On it," Sonic said, dashing toward the mech. As Sonic distracted Robotnik, Barry circled around to the mech's back, planting a series of explosive devices near its power conduits. The explosions destabilized the mech, causing it to stagger. Sonic seized the opportunity to leap onto the mech, targeting the emerald housing. "You're not getting away with this," Robotnik screamed, activating a shield that sent Sonic flying. Barry caught him mid-air, landing safely on the platform. "We'll need to hit it together." Sonic grinned. "You're finally speaking my language." The two speedsters combined their powers for a final assault. Sonic accelerated into a spin dash, while Barry channeled lightning through his fists. Together they struck the emerald housing, shattering the energy field and sending the Chaos Emeralds scattering across the chamber. The mech convulsed, sparks flying as its systems overloaded. Robotnik, panicking, attempted to eject from the cockpit, but Sonic launched himself at the escape pod, sending it crashing into the wall. "You're not going anywhere, Eggman," Sonic said, standing over the dazed scientist. As the battleship began to collapse, Barry gathered the Chaos Emeralds, their energy stabilizing the damage to the Speed Force. He turned to Sonic. "We need to get out of here. The explosion will destroy everything." "Say no more," Sonic replied, grabbing Robotnik and dashing toward the shuttle. Barry followed, the emeralds in hand. They barely made it aboard as the battleship detonated in a massive burst of light, the shockwave dissipating harmlessly into space. Back in Green Hill Zone, Barry and Sonic stood by the shimmering portal Barry had created with the Chaos Emeralds. The two speedsters exchanged a handshake, their camaraderie evident. "You're not bad, Flash," Sonic said, smirking. "If you ever want a rematch, you know where to find me." Barry smiled. "Thanks, Sonic, for everything. Keep an eye on Robotnik." "Always." Barry stepped into the portal, the light swallowing him as he returned to Central City. As the portal closed, Sonic turned to see the peaceful Green Hill Zone around him, the sun shining brightly. "Just another day," Sonic said, zipping off into the distance. Barry awoke in Star Labs, surrounded by Cisco and Caitlin. "Barry, you're back!" Caitlin exclaimed. "Yeah," Barry said, smiling faintly. "And I've got one heck of a story to tell."